competent. By the way, beyond fascism, if you want women's rights, if you want women's health care, regarding abortion access and other related women's health care, you're not going to get it. It'll continue to get worse for women.
Well, Donald Trump's bragged that he's the one who terminated Roe v. Wade.
That's right. Well, and
so there,
he and Leonard Leo
so there
did
goes that freedom. Again, we're talking about a freedom that Americans have had for 50 years.
Yeah.
Taken away by Donald Trump. And here's the crazy thing. He's bragging about it. Yeah. He's bragging about terminating the right of women to have freedom over their bodies, over their life, over the most personal decisions that they can make. It is all about freedom. And Donald Trump's bragging about taking away that freedom.
You have incompetent, dumb people surrounding Trump and his Trumpiness on this issue. Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville recently gave an outlandish reason for blocking hundreds of military promotions, making us less safe. He suggested the Pentagon isn't being clear about whether members of the military are getting abortion after birth. Huh?
It's been rape, incest, or health of the mom, but we asked in one of our hearings, what month are you going to go by for the abortion? They couldn't tell us whether it was abortion after birth. I mean, these people can't communicate. They have no clue what they're doing. They're just throwing something out there.
Mika, as you point out to people that come on our show and make things up about abortion well into the 9th month, and here, abortion after birth. And by the way, there is a term for abortion after birth. Are you ready to write this down, okay?
Yeah.
It's called murder. Abortion after birth is not abortion, it's murder. And again, every time these clowns get backed into a corner, they start lying because they know the American people are against them. They know the overwhelming majority, over 70% of Americans have been against the taking away, or as Donald Trump says, his termination of a woman's freedom, over 70% for decades now. If you look at Gallup polls, but they start lying about this, up until the moment the baby's born. It is such a lie. And this clown is doing it now.
Caddy, I just wonder, what this coach is thinking. Like, how dumb does he think people are? And I don't just say women. There are a lot of men who support abortion and women's health care as well. I mean, this isn't like a week-long shtick to get clicks. He's been doing this, blocking military promotions for months, making us legitimately and literally less safe. And I feel like these stupid comments he makes on stupid social media shows is just to sort of try and trigger us. I would say to women and men out there, don't get triggered, vote. Don't get triggered, vote. Don't respond to that idiot. I mean, he's an idiot. Everybody in the Senate wishes he would stop this, even some of his Republican counterparts.
I mean, most of his Republicans.
I would say, but why don't they do something? Because, quite frankly, he's not just being a dumb idiot. He is making our military less safe.
That we're hearing from the military, right? That they need these promotions in place, particularly at a time where America is supporting two different countries at war. You need to have these promotions in place. But on the abortion side of this, there is this myth, and it is a myth that is put out there by people who oppose abortions in the country, that somehow abortions rights campaigners want women to have abortions right up until the kind of, 40th week of their pregnancy. 90% of abortions in America are conducted in the first trimester. The other 10%, it tends to be when there is often a catastrophe that happens. Nobody wants an abortion in the last trimester. Nobody's campaigning for that. Nobody's going out there saying, please let women have abortions at 38 weeks of pregnancy. 90% of abortions happen in the first 13 weeks of pregnancy, and that's what we're dealing with. So it's kind of throwing a red herring in there. It's trying to make the debate something that it isn't. When you talk about, I don't even know, Joe's right, what is an abortion after birth? That's murder. I mean, that doesn't even happen. It's not a thing. So, you know, it's just like a red herring that's put out there to distract from the really critical issue, which is healthcare for women and for men and for couples around pregnancy in the first trimester and second trimester of pregnancy. You know, it's
how many times do you have to explain it?
It's worth putting the numbers out.
You got to put the numbers out because, Jonathan, you do have people when they get desperate, when they get pushed into a corner, they understand 75% of Americans are against them. They understand they're going to lose election after election after election after election because Donald Trump has, as he said, Donald Trump has terminated the right of women to make a decision over the freedom of them, over their bodies, over their health care. So they understand. So they make things up like this, talking about murder, like saying the Pentagon can't even tell us whether they're going to allow murder. I mean, again, just making it up. I guess he's thinking since he's losing the public, he's lost the state of Alabama on this issue. He's lost Republicans. He's going to go on some show and start lying to people about like the Pentagon wanting to murder babies who were born. It's crazy. I've just got to say, though, the White House must love every time Tommy Tuberville goes on TV and starts talking,
not sure
because that's a political victory for them.
Oh, no question there. We've heard President Biden call out Senator Tuberville a few different times now, and he's pretty loath to target individual senators by name out of respect for institution. Of course, he was a longtime senator himself. That's not the case with Tuberville, as he has blasted Tuberville's efforts, frankly, to weaken American military readiness. And certainly on the issue of abortion, we have seen Donald Trump and his team see all the losses Republicans have taken because of abortion at the ballot box and try to distance himself from his own efforts to install Supreme Court justice, who, of course, did away with Roe v. Wade. And the Biden team has made very clear they're not going to let them, that they feel like abortion will be a signature issue in 2024 as well. And we are seeing that effort ramp up already, tying Trump to what happened at the Supreme Court.